We don't just talk about the news, we talk to those making news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
That a woman has to work about this far into 2014 to earn what a man earned in 2013. Think about that. A woman's got to work about 3 more months in order to get what a man got because she's paid less. That's not fair.
All right. You know, to me, there aren't enough Pinocchios in the world. But joining us now is our friend Glenn Kessler, the fact checker at the Washington Post. Hello, Glenn.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Always good to talk to you. Okay. So you originally gave the president 77-cent claim on the wage gap, one Pinocchio. And please tell me why. And then you went back. You've updated it. And although you said you were tempted to give him 3, you wound up giving him 2. So explain the whole process here.
Well, you know, I always like to have politicians cite official government statistics, and this 70 cents, you know, the idea that a woman makes 77 cents compared to every dollar a man makes, does come from census data. It's official report put out by the Census Bureau. And the problem, as I have explained, is that it's just you know, it's an average, and there are big differences between the way women are in the workforce and the way men are in the workforce. And so if you account for those different things, such as the different kinds of jobs that men take versus the kind of jobs that women take, the fact that women take time off because they take care of children, that sort of thing, that wage gap narrows. It's not like there's no wage gap, but it narrows. And so it's hard to get it all the way into, you know, super Pinocchio land. The clip you just used, you know, when you start extrapolating things and say, oh, well, this is how much longer it takes a woman to make as much as a man. Well, that's playing some games.
If you insult Jews in this country, if you insult Christians in this country,
I don't really see how we were in April, almost 4 months. So even if the gap, well, I guess if the gap was 77 cents, that's almost a quarter of a year. But and you put in your update, and I'm glad you put this in the article from the Daily Beast talking about the Georgetown University survey that talked about majors and, you know, and how the high-paying majors, or the majors that result in high-paying jobs from college, dominated by males, the lower-paying majors dominated by females. So these go into it, as do hours worked, leaving the workforce. So, you know, it's funny because, I mean, so you weren't Pinocchioing this, but should you not take into account also that the White House pays 88 cents on the dollar to women using this formula, and that's higher than the average of Washington, D.C.? Should that be a separate category and get its own set of Pinocchios?
Well, yeah, I mean, in theory, I just had it as a part of my story, but for instance, the White House itself discovered how problematic using these kind of averages are, because you know they protested and said, well, wait, that's not really fair, you know, because man to man, woman to woman, the same job, they all get the same amount of money, but. True, but that's when you do an average, this is what happens.
And that's what they're continuing to do, is the average. Yeah. So okay. So could we? So how come you didn't go 2.5 then? If you almost went 3.
You know, I don't do half Pinocchio.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough then. Fair enough. By the way, what do you think of that Geico commercial with the Pinocchio is a bad motivational speaker, and the nose grows every time he says you have potential? That's pretty funny, isn't it?
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen that one?
No.
I think it's Geico, and they say everybody knows that, but did you know that Pinocchio was a bad motivational speaker? Then they have this guy, this Pinocchio guy, in front of a room full of fired executives, I guess, or people looking to get back in the workforce, and he says, everyone in this room has potential. You, sir, you have potential. And his nose keeps growing. And I thought of you immediately for some reason. Anyway, let's move on. Earlier in the about last week, I guess, you talked about the former IRS, or the IRS chief, saying that there was no targeting of Tea Party groups, just inappropriate criteria. That was John Koskinen. He was testifying before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee at the end of last month, and you gave him 3 Pinocchios on that one. Right.
Well, because it was kind of strange wordsmithing, because he was trying to kind of claim that he had never used the term and the IRS had never used the term, when in fact I pointed out that he actually had used the phrase targeting in his confirmation hearings. The IRS, his predecessor in a report, had used the phrase targeting, as well as the IG. So it just struck me as when you got 3 examples of the word targeting being used, and he's kind of sitting there saying it's never been used, that seemed worthy of 3 Pinocchios. Have you thought of doing
from the Bill O'Reilly interview, where Obama tells Bill O'Reilly with regard to the IRS situation, scandal, which of course they say it's not, wasn't even a smidgen, not even a smidgen of, I think if you said impropriety or wrongdoing, whatever.
He said of corruption.
Corruption. Would you think of going back and looking at that one day?
Well, it's possible. I certainly get that as a suggestion from a lot of readers. It's the kind of thing. It's very much a moving target. Yeah, we have to see where all the reports come out.
Right, and of course, there were some emails out today where suggestions that the IRS was in cahoots with Elijah Cummings on the committee and leaking him information during this whole thing. So that, I think we're going to find out a lot more. Okay, now what about this? Every day Harry Reid, the majority leader of the Senate, and I've never seen anything like this. I mean, you want to go back to the communism hearings and accusations and the Un-American House Committee on Un-American Activities, maybe. But the leader of the U.S. Senate every day takes to the floor and calls 2 wealthy businessmen in this country who he disagrees with un-American. And you did one back in March. Where Democrats claim the Koch brothers want to protect tax cuts for companies that ship our jobs overseas. That's just one of their claims, and you rated that one, and you gave them, if I'm not mistaken, 4 Pinocchios on that. So are you also, explain that, and are you also following the further attacks on the Koch brothers?
Well, I've written about, in the last month, I've written about 3 ads put out by Senate Majority PAC, which is affiliated with Reid, and all 3 of those ads have gotten 4 Pinocchios.
Wow.
And they often involve attacks on the Koch brothers, and the most recent one was particularly odd because they were suggesting that the Republican candidate was in the pocket of the Koch brothers, and their exhibit for that was this flood insurance bill that the Koch brothers were trying to kill, but the lead sponsor of the bill the Koch brothers was trying to kill was actually this Republican congressman, Bill Cassidy. So it was just very odd. I don't quite understand how you could put an ad out like that.
Yeah, well, there's a letter from 2009, I believe, from Senator Schumer thanking the Koch brother PAC for contributing to his campaign, and now he's out there saying yes, they are un-American. He said that to Joe Scarborough about 2 weeks ago or so. So the hypocrisy knows no ends, but that's good for you, I guess, right? Keeps the columns coming.
Yeah, that's right. So far, I haven't found a day where I didn't have material.
Hey, Glenn, keep it up, and thank you for sharing with us as always.
You're welcome. Take
care. Glenn Kessler, ladies and gentlemen. And it's always great to read the fact checker. I don't always agree. And again, what the White House is doing on this phony wage issue with women is when they're asked, well, why do you pay women 88 cents on the dollar? They say, wait a minute, there's a lot of factors that go into this. And that's the whole argument, that this is a phony issue. There are a lot of factors that go into this. It's not clean cut. They're giving you an average. But it's affected by who goes to school, what they major in, what their career choices are, how many hours they work, do they leave to have a family. That all enters into it. So the White House defense on why they're guilty is the defense and the point for saying that this is a non-issue. But it doesn't stop Obama from making believe that the White House isn't guilty and that the whole world is guilty of, in fact, paying women 77 cents on the dollar, which is nuts. But it doesn't stop them. All right, folks, when we come back, Al Sharpton, mob informant, on the Steve Malzberg Show.